I've always had a morbid curiosity. From true crime podcasts to documentaires to books and spending hours online looking up killers, both infamous and obscure. In fact, when I was in the 5th grade, my parents had to come in and talk to the teacher. When I told the class about the body farms the FBI uses to teach future agents to identify how long corpses have been dead for. I devoured this kind of stuff and still do, but it wasn't until I met Matt, my roommate at college, that this hobby was taken up a notch. Like me, Matt was into the same things, only his parents were rich and gave him enough money so he could go on what he called death tours, where he could go see where murderers lived, where they worked, and even to the sites of their grisly murders. And since I was his friend, and into the same things as he would pay for my ticket and bring me along. The first place we went was where H.H. Holmes's murder castle once stood. Since it was no longer there, we both thought this was a bit of a letdown. A shame too, because he was my favorite serial killer. Lots of people look at me odd for claiming I have a favorite serial killer, or when I explain that I love true crime and all its gory details. It's not like I am dangerous or anything. I just want to know how someone could go ahead and actually kill someone. Everyone has thought about it, but to actually go ahead and do it is, well, that's what I find fascinating. The summer break before our senior year, we decided to take off to Arizona to explore where Mateo Salazar hunted for nearly 20 years before he was caught and executed. When Matt suggested this destination, I didn't know who Mateo Salazar was, so Matt showed me his stats, all the people he killed, how long he was active, etc. His crimes were so gruesome that I was surprised that I had never heard of him. He would abduct people, give them strange tattoos before skinning them alive, and then kill them. No one knows why he skinned people he forced tattoos on, but it's suspected that it was part of a strange and twisted religious ritual. Also, the exact number of people he murdered is a topic of contention, but is anywhere between 35 and 50. Shortly after he was caught, the area he hunted in became a ghost town. Not just because no one wants to live in a place where that many murders happened, but because it was so isolated that there were no jobs to keep people around. Since then, it became a sort of grim tourist attraction dedicated to the man who killed so many. When we got there, I expected to see a tour guide, but other than the dust being kicked up by the wind and the abandoned buildings, there was very little to see. I would have thought that there would have been at least someone in the gift shop, the former post office, but that too was empty. Most of the things in the small and dust-covered gift shop were knickknacks, and not interesting to either Matt or I. However, there was one thing that caused a cold shiver to creep up my spine. Under a glass counter was Mateo Salazar's death mask, taken shortly after his execution. Beneath it were the last words he spoke, and when I read them, it sounded more like a curse. "My work is not finished. It will never be finished. I'll be back." Matt wasn't bothered by this, but for some reason I can't articulate I was. I had to leave, but instead of telling Matt the mask made me feel uneasy, he would have relentlessly teased me if I did. I told him I was going off to explore, which was true. All over town there were plaques. Some gave a brief history of a building, and others were about the people who either lived or worked there. Most of them were either Salazar's victims or friends who were oblivious to the horrible things he did when he was alive. Like always, I took tons of pictures while Matt ran off to do his own thing. In hindsight, I wish I had followed him around. Maybe things would have been different if I had. After a few hours,